it is for motor control. This yellow is supplementary motor area. This is for execution. This is for execution of motor movement, and this is the motor area. You see here, this is called pre-motor area, right? So this is pre-motor area. This is for what? This is for plan. Am I clear? I repeat, this one is for plan, this one is yellow for execution, this one for control, right? And this is the central sulcus. So this is the pre-central gyrus. So here is the motor area, and in the motor area there is homunculus or somatotopy. Soma means body, topy means map. So the whole body map is here. It is like a cartoon picture, and here the face area is big and the hand area is big, the trunk area small, like that. As you know, somatotopy we have already read, I think. And isn't it? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So the motor system is made up of motor cortex. The whole thing is motor cortex, motor tracts, and the effector organs. Effector organs means either the muscles or the glands. So should we repeat this thing again, or should we proceed?
We should proceed, sir.
This one,
we can proceed, sir.
Okay, proceed. Okay. Now let us come to motor tracts. Motor tracts, as I already told you, whether you can remember or not, I cannot tell. There are two types of motor tracts. One is pyramidal tract, another is extrapyramidal tract. This one is pyramidal tract. So it goes and it starts from the motor cortex and then it crosses in the medulla. This is medulla. This is midbrain, then pons, then medulla, then spinal cord. So this is medulla, and here in the medulla, in the ventral side of the medulla, there is a pyramid-like. Can you see this one? It is a pyramid-like portion, and through this the tract goes, and the tract, most of the tract, 90% of the tract crosses, and 10% does not cross. This is the lateral cortico-spinal tract, this or pyramidal tract, and this is for high tone of muscle. And tone means what? Tone means the property of muscle, the resistance of muscle. I repeat, resistance of muscle against stretch. Resistance of muscle against stretch is called tone. So the pyramidal tract, when it is active, it increases the tone, and it is for the skillful movement. It is for the skillful movement. Motor means motion or volition. So motor tract is connected to the skeletal muscle, so that we can do some very precise work, maybe writing, maybe drawing, maybe threading a needle, etc. All the motor tract, main motor tract is the pyramidal tract for skillful movement, right? And when we are doing the skillful movement, we must stand, and the gross body posture should, gross body tone should be there, because suppose you are drawing a picture in a blackboard, so you must stand, then only you can can draw the picture, right? And for that the extra pyramidal tracts are there, tectospinal, reticulospinal, vestibulospinal, all tracts are there, and those tracts are getting the collateral from the pyramidal tract. You see the collateral or branch. So when the pyramidal tract is active, automatically the extrapyramidal tracts are active, because on the platform of the extrapyramidal tract, pyramidal tracts works. Am I clear to you all?
Yes, sir.
So extrapyramidal tracts are rubrospinal, starting from the red nucleus, then tectospinal. Tectum means the Kaushi, Nepalima Kaushi bhancha ni, tectum, that is called tectum, right? That from one portion of the brainstem is projected like the lintel of the roof, and that is called tectum. From there it is in the midbrain actually. From midbrain the tectospinal tract starts. Then from the reticular formation the reticulospinal tract is there, and from the vestibular nucleus vestibulospinal tracts are there, and from the olivary nucleus olivospinal is also there. Those rubrospinal, tectospinal, reticulospinal, vestibulospinal, olivospinal, in some books that is also written, they are collectively known as extrapyramidal tract. Now let us, you please see this, if it is the thalamus and if it is the part of the basal ganglia, through that the pyramidal tract goes, and that this portion is called internal capsule. So if there is a lesion, by chance if there is a lesion, then the tract cannot work, and as the tract is going to the opposite side or contralateral side of the body, if here lesion occurs, then the opposite side of the body suffers from the hypotonia, and work cannot be done, motor function is off, and that is called hemiplegia. Hemi means half, plegia, right? And this is about the pyramidal tract, and I think we have already read this one. Isn't it now? Is it brushed up now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you see the pyramidal tract. Pyramidal tract are all pyramidal, extrapyramidal, all are, the last portion is spinal, corticospinal, rubrospinal, tectospinal, vestibulospinal, right? So all are motor tracts. When the tract, name of the tract is something spinal, it is motor tract. And when it is spino something, spinocerebellar, spinothalamic, lateral spinothalamic, anterior spinothalamic. So in spino something, it is a sensory tract. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Now see that you see the codes. First, for a tract, First you have to know the origin, then the track, and then the termination. So you see the track, that track of the tract, the pyramidal tract goes laterally. So lateral corticospinal tract. But the other extrapyramidal tracts all goes anteriorly. So it is called anterior corticospinal tract. These tectospinal, reticulospinal, vestibulospinal, rubrospinal, all, right? This is the main thing you must remember. That is, your idea should be clear. Is it clear now? Should I proceed?
Sir.
Now let us come to the pyramidal tract. As I already told, here in the motor homunculus, here the foot, here hand, here the face, etc. there, and this one is called means here one side there is thalamus, another side there is portion of the basal ganglia. In between there is a portion that is called internal capsule. Through that the tract comes down, and in that the pyramidal tract, you see the pyramidal tract is crossing. It is going to the other side of the body, and then it is coming through the laterally in the spinal cord. So the lateral corticospinal tract, and after that the lower motor neuron is coming from here. It originating from the ventral portion of the spinal cord. Now the ventral horn, from the ventral horn it is coming out, and this nerve, this lower motor neuron is innervating either the gland or the muscle. If it is a gland, then the gland will secrete. If it is a muscle, muscle will contract. Up to this clear?
Clear, sir.
Now you see all the motor nerves which is originating from the cortex, corticospinal or corticobulbar, originating from the cortex and ending in the bulb. Which is bulb? Midbrain, pons and medulla, collectively known as bulb. Okay, so it looks like the bulb of a onion, so it is called bulb. So all the corticospinal, all the corticobulbar tracts are. Arjun, should I repeat?
No, sir.
All the tracts, that is corticospinal or corticobulbar, those tracts are called upper motor neuron, right? And the motor neuron which is originating from the brainstem, like your cranial nerves, and the spinal nerves. This is the spinal nerves. These spinal nerves, spinal motor neuron, or the motor neurons which is coming out from the brainstem, that is the cranial motor neurons. They are all lower motor neuron. Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Should I proceed?
Sir.
Now, as I already told, that see here, the 90% or in some books 80% of the corticospinal tract, that means the pyramidal tract, it is going to the other side of the body, contralateral side. So it is called lateral corticospinal tract. And in some about 10 to 20% it is coming anteriorly Some skillful movement, very little skillful movement can be done in the trunk also, right? Because some of the people you can see that in the belly they can manage they can contract the belly muscles, abdominal muscles according to their will, because the sum of the portion 20 to 10%, 10% to 20% of the pyramidal tract is also there in the trunk. So they can manage it. Most of us cannot do it, and in most of us 90% pyramidal tract for skillful movement is laterally going. Up to this clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay. And here also anterior corticospinal and uncrossed lateral corticospinal is there. So all are mainly we are concerned about this lateral corticospinal, which is going to the opposite side of the body, right? May I proceed?
Unsa, sir.
Now the branches of the pyramidal tract, given off early in their descent and return to the cerebral cortex to inhibit activity in the adjacent regions of the cortex. When the pyramidal tract is coming out, at that time some of the branches go to cerebral cortex itself, so that there should not be very jerky movement, so that they can be smooth, because those cerebral cortex, those fibers which are going to cerebral cortex, they are inhibiting the excess activity of the pyramidal tract. Otherwise there will be jerky movement, and smooth skillful movement will not be possible, right? Number 2, branches passes to the caudate nucleus, lentiform nucleus, red nucleus from their rubrospinal appears, and olivary nucleus from their olivospinal appears, and reticular formation from their reticulospinal, that means the extrapyramidal tract, they appear, they origin. So they are branches are there to the extrapyramidal tracts also, keeping the subcortical region informed about the cortical activity. Because when pyramidal tract is working, at that time subcortical portions are also working, because the rubrospinal, tectospinal, reticulospinal, vestibulospinal, they are all under the cortex. From there the extrapyramidal tract appears, as I already told. So they are activated, and the person can stand properly and can maintain its posture, and then only we can do the skillful movement. Am I clear? What I have already told, it is written there. And their own nervous impulses to the alpha and gamma motor neurons by descending pathways. So these nucleus, what we am talking about here, that is from there the extrapyramidal tract appear or originate. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Are you talking on behalf of all of you? Should I proceed?
Unsa, sir.
Now see, if there is a cut, if there is a lesion, what happens? So here, suppose there is no cut here, okay? So here the lesion occurs here. So what happens? From this side the nerve path crosses and comes to the other side. So if there is a lesion here, there will be contralateral hemiplegia. You see, contralateral hemiplegia, because it is going to opposite side. This nerve is going to the opposite side, right? Number one. So it is contralateral. Hemi means half, plagia means paralysis, right? So if it cuts here, then this side hemiplegia, contralateral hemiplegia. Now, if the cut or the lesion is after this one is crossing, isn't it? So after the crossing, if it occurs, so both the tracts, this side and that side, both the tracts from this side and from that side, it is cut. So there will be quadriplegia or tetraplegia. All the limbs, hand, foot, leg, all will be affected. There will be no quadriplegia or tetraplegia. Now, if the lesion occurs, here lesion means C5, C4, C5 here. If the lesion occurs, then there will be tetraplegia. And if there is lesion in the lumbar area, both the tracts are affected, so there will be paraplegia, because the hands will work and the legs will not work. Paraplegia, right? And this is all these things, these tracts are upper motor neuron. So if the upper motor neuron lesion is there, there will be exaggerated jerks. The jerks will be exaggerated, and muscle atrophy will be less, right? Now, but if there is a spinal nerve lesion, that means the alpha motor neuron from the spinal motor neuron is cut, which is lower motor neuron. If it is cut, or if here it is cut, then what will happen? From the anterior horn cell, if the motor nerve is arising from here, if it is cut, then it will not go to the muscle. So there will be flaccid paralysis. There will be flaccid paralysis. So that is called lower motor neuron lesion. That is the cause of lower motor neuron lesion. So if there is upper motor neuron lesion, there will be exaggerated jerk, and the paralysis will be there, but it is not flaccid paralysis. But if the lower motor neuron lesion is done, then there will be complete paralysis, flaccid paralysis, and there will be atrophy of the muscles. I repeat, the upper motor neurons are the corticospinal and corticobulbar neurons. Lower motor neurons are either spinal neurons, spinal lower motor neurons, alpha motor neurons, or they are from the cranial nerve, which is directly innervating either gland or muscle. If the lower motor neuron lesion is done, then there will be flaccid paralysis, and if the upper motor neuron is occurs, then there will be exaggerated jerk, and there will be the paralysis will be there, but that is not flaccid one. Up to this clear?
Clear, sir.
Now let us come to extrapyramidal system again. Extrapyramidal system comprised of basal ganglia, reticular formation, vestibular nucleus, and descending fibers to spinal cord. That means the descending fibers means descending tract. So descending tracts are extrapyramidal and pyramidal tract, and this extrapyramidal system, this extrapyramidal system components here we have shown, and the pyramidal tract is from the corticospinal, I have already told. And the extrapyramidal system influence the tone, posture and equilibrium. What is tone? I have already told. I repeat, tone, it is very frequently asked. The resistance of a muscle, I repeat, the resistance of a muscle against stretch is called tone. In some books it is written it is a partial contractile state of a muscle. It is a very old definition. The new definition for you it is better to write or tell that it is the resistance of the muscle against stretch is called tone. And posture means the body position of the body and body parts, position of the body and body parts in air, position of the body and body parts in air, that is called posture. And when the posture is stable, that is called equilibrium. When the posture is stable, that is called equilibrium. For tone, posture and equilibrium, which are needed? The motor system is needed, the cerebellum is needed, and the vestibular apparatus is needed. I repeat, motor cortex and motor system is needed, for cerebellum is needed, and the cerebellum and the vestibular apparatus is needed. Now, the main extrapyramidal tract I have already told many a times, you know, they are rubrospinal, tectospinal, reticulospinal and vestibulospinal. Transaction between the superior and inferior colliculus, superior and inferior colliculus, in between if there is cut, that is called decerebration. Decerebration, that means the cerebral cortex is cut. Brainstem not influenced by the cortex or basal ganglia. Medullary inhibitory area becomes non-functioning. Brainstem facilitatory area having intrinsic activity of its own continue to discharge. The stimulatory impulses, vestibular nucleus also stimulates spinal centers. Stimulation of the gamma motor neuron is more, so tone increased. So when there is decerebration, if the brainstem becomes the highest center and it does not get the inhibitory impulse from the cerebral cortex, then tone increases. Limbs means हाथ खुट्टा एकदम पिलर जस्तो कडा भएर माथि जान्छ, and hyper extended neck and tail will be there in case of animal, because it is done in cat, and it has been seen that if there is transaction, if there is a lesion between the superior and inferior colliculus in the midbrain. Midbrain has two colliculus, superior and inferior, right? So at that time there will be actually functionally the brainstem is not connected with the cerebral cortex, so that is called decerebration, and at that time tone increases and decortication. I am telling you again, it is called decerebration, right? In hemiplegia, rigidity of the extensor limbs and rigidity of the flexure of the upper limbs anti-gravity muscles occur. It is due to clinical homologue of decorticate preparation. Only cortex, if cut, then there will be rigidity of the extensor of the lower limb and rigidity of the flexure of the upper limb. So what happens, as I have not shown it in your class, because if you cannot see me, I cannot show it. When there is hemiplegia, the legs become stretched. The hemiplegic leg becomes straight, right? And the leg is tilted when the person walks after stroke. The person walks like the hemiplegic. From the knee it does not fold. It becomes straight, and the hand, the elbow, and the from the waist, there is half circled motion is there, because the extensor are rigid in the lower limbs, and this is like decorticate preparation. In decerebration, what happens? I repeat, in decerebration, hand and legs all are hyperextended, and pillar-like. Flexion in the upper limb, flexion in the hand, and extension in the lower limb, extension in leg. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
कोही भनिरहेछु केही बुझेको छैन जस्तो लाग्यो, फेरि कुरा गर त, भन त. Is it clear? Should I tell or should I proceed?
बुझ्यो, sir.
बुझ्यो. Okay. Now about pyramidal tract, I have already told that the pyramidal tract increases the muscle tone, extrapyramidal tract decreases the muscle tone. Extrapyramidal tract functions, we are talking about one after another. For reticulospinal tract, reticular formation, from there it originates. In every tract, always remember, you must remember this origin, its tract, and this termination, right? Then the tract is complete. So reticulospinal tract comes out from the reticular formation in the brainstem. It is a net-like structure, and mainly reticular formation, if stimulated, then the person cannot sleep. So when there is pain, at that time the pain fibers, the sensitive fibers, reticular formation also. So in pain we cannot sleep. When we are stressed, some psychological stress is there during examination, we cannot sleep because the reticular formation is not become cool. So it is stimulated, so we cannot sleep. And that reticular formation, it is like a sausage-like. It is like its structure is like sausage-like structure. then that you think about the three-dimensional structure of the reticular formation, right? So in midbrain there is reticular formation, in pons there is reticular formation, in medulla there is reticular formation. So from this full reticular formation, some tracts, motor tracts are originating, that is called reticulospinal tract, and it facilitate or inhibit the activity of the motor neurons, maybe alpha motor neuron, maybe gamma motor neuron in the anterior gray column, so facilitate or inhibit voluntary or reflex activity. Through this tract, hypothalamus also controls the sympathetic and sacral parasympathetic outflow. That is very, very important for reticular formation, but reticulospinal tract, that motor tract, gross movement is possible. So we can bend forward, we can bend backward also by reticulospinal tract. Forward bending for reticulospinal tract, backward bending also for reticulospinal tract. So it facilitate or inhibit voluntary or reflex activity, etc. And through this tract, some autonomic nervous system tract also goes through the thalamus, controls the sympathetic and parasympathetic outflow. Which parasympathetic? Sacral one. Because parasympathetic is craniosacral, right? So from the cranial nerves are not influenced by the reticulum. So sacral, parasympathetic and sympathetic nerves are all across the midline. This is in short about the reticulospinal tract, and please remember, for namaste, if you do namaste, so you bend forward, right? If you bend backward also, that is also for that muscles also reticular, for that muscle work also reticulospinal tract is needed. Up to this clear?
Yes, sir.
May I proceed?
हुन्छ sir.
Now comes tectospinal tract. Tectospinal. So tectum means the midbrain. So it originates from the superior colliculus. Superior colliculus of the midbrain, cross the midline, descend through the anterior gray column of the spinal cord, and function is reflex postural movement in response to visual stimuli. Visual stimuli. Because all the visual stimulus, when it goes to the occipital lobe of the spine, of the cerebral cortex, before that branches or collaterals goes to midbrain also for the reflex activities. When you learn about the accommodation reflex, about the light reflex, you will see, I think you have already done light reflex, the accommodation reflex, isn't it? In practical, have you done?
Yes, sir, in practical done.
In practical, you have done the light reflex and the accommodation reflex. So can you remember the pathway? Can you remember the pathway?
पुरै याद छैन सर.
पुरा याद छैन, तर त एडिन्जर वेस्टफाल न्युक्लियसमा जान्छ. It goes through the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Can you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Can you remember pretectal nucleus and Edinger-Westphal nucleus? Those names, can you remember those names you have heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these pretectal nucleus, the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, all are in midbrain. Am I clear? So from midbrain the tectospinal tract arises, and if there is some changes in the visual field, so reflexly the muscle becomes stretched, maybe some flexor muscle, maybe some extensor muscle, to keep the body in right position. If the body is in wrong position, then the body comes into the right position by the righting reflex through this tectospinal tract, which acts through the visual stimuli. For example, suppose you are walking, you are walking, and your by chance you slipped. By chance you slipped. At that time you will try to manage your body so that you do not fall, isn't it? So what happens when you slip? You were seeing some portions, you were seeing in front something. Now all on a sudden your visual field will be changed, your face will be up, and you will see some other things. Suppose you were seeing the middle of the door. At that time you slipped, your face will be up and you will see the top of the door. At that time automatically there will be some visual reflex and tectospinal tract will be activated, and your body muscles will be contracting so that you can prevent your fall. Am I clear? And that is done by the tectospinal one, reflex postural movement in response to visual stimuli. Because tectum or midbrain is related to vision, related to visual tract. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Should I tell it again?
ठीक है sir. Sir.
Should I proceed or should I tell it again?
You can proceed, sir.
Now comes the rubrospinal tract. Rubrospinal tract origin is the tegmentum of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. So, tegmentum means it is also in midbrain, but in between the superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. It is in the red nucleus. It is from the red nucleus. So the nucleus, generally the nucleus are grey in color, but this portion, this nucleus is red in color, so it is called red nucleus. From that the rubrospinal tract, another one of the extrapyramidal tract originates, and it acts on the alpha and gamma motor neuron in the anterior column, facilitates the activity of flexor muscles, inhibit the activity of extensor muscles, facilitates the activity of flexor muscle. So there is forward bending, flexion, forward bending or flexion. Suppose you saw the idol of Rato Mochindranath, or you saw the red colored Ganeshji, or you saw the red colored Brahmaji. So what will you do? Generally you do pranam, we bend forward and do namaskar like that. So is it backward bending or forward bending? Forward bending. So rubrospinal for the forward bending. So it facilitates the flexor muscles, rubrospinal, right? In that way you can remember, so that I am telling that, so that you can tell, So rubrospinal for forward bending, reticulospinal for both, for forward bending also, for backward bending also. Tectospinal for reflexes which originates from the visual stimuli, from the tectum, from the midbrain, right? Then comes vestibulospinal. Vestibulospinal tract, it originates from the pons and medulla, beneath the fourth ventricle fibers, fibers uncrossed, inner ear and cerebellum works through this tract, and it facilitates the activity of extension. So vestibulospinal is for extension. So vestibular system is related to listening, hearing, because there is cochlea and vestibular apparatus. So remember, if you listen or hear a sound, so what we do? We used to see the source of the sound. At that time, do we bend and see whether it is coming from the floor, or we bend ourselves backward and see far away from where it is coming? So vestibulospinal is for backward bending, facilitate the activity of extensor muscle, inhibit the activity of flexor muscle. Rubrospinal, just opposite, facilitates the flexor muscle and inhibit the activity of extensor muscle. Vestibulospinal facilitates activity of extensor, inhibit activity of flexor. After this clear? If it is not clear,
Yes, sir.
should I proceed? You are talking on behalf of whole class. Should I proceed?
Unja, sir.
Okay. Now, as I already told, the upper motor neuron lesion, moral motor neuron lesion, I have not to tell it again, I think. So pyramidal tract lesion causes Babinski sign positive. You know it, I think. You have done it in your practical or not? I do not know. Did you practice it in your practical class, Babinski sign? Yes? No?
No, sir.
No. So, if you take a blunt object like a key and in the sole of the foot you scratch it, then the toe will be up and the toe and the other fingers of the foot will be like a claw. Okay. And that is called negative Babinski sign, which is seen in us. And if there is pyramidal tract lesion then if there is stroke, cerebral stroke, thalamo-geniculate artery burst. Lesion in the thalamo-geniculate artery, and naturally the one portion, either left or right side of the internal capsule is lesioned, and that causes the stroke. In stroke that happens, cerebral stroke, and pyramidal tract is lesioned. At that time, what will happen? If you do the same thing, if you initiate that reflex by scratching the sole of your feet, I think your books are there, practical book is there, so you can see how to take the, in which route you have to take the, in which way you have to scratch, it is there. So at that time, if the sole of the person's feet is scratched, what will happen? If there is pyramidal tract lesion, then the toe will be up and the other fingers of the foot will be fanned out. Fanned, F-A-N-N-E-D, fan just out. Right? So that is called positive Babinski sign. Positive Babinski sign is also seen in the children who are below 2 years, because at that time the pyramidal tract is not properly myelinated. Myelination is still to be complete. Babinski sign positive can be seen in us also, in adult also, when we are in deep sleep. And if there is pyramidal tract lesion, Babinski sign surely will be positive. Right? And there is loss of abdominal reflex, because 10% of the corticospinal tract, CST, corticospinal tract, which is coming either ipsilaterally or ventrally, exert a tonic excitatory influence on the internuncial neuron. That internuncial means in between neurons, branch, in between, small neurons that supply to the final common neuron path that innervates the abdominal muscle. So loss of cremasteric reflex. Cremasteric reflex what? If the inner part of the thigh is scratched in a male, the testis goes up. That is called cremasteric reflex. So that reflex will be off. Babinski sign will be positive. Abdominal reflex will be lost. And loss of spine skill movement, especially to the distal limbs. That happens in upper motor neuron lesion if the pyramidal tract is lesioned. Because upper motor neuron may be pyramidal, may be extrapyramidal. Am I clear? Upper motor, I repeat, upper motor neurons are corticospinal and corticobulbar motor neurons. It may be the neurons of the pyramidal tract, it may be the neurons of the extrapyramidal tract. So if the only pyramidal tract is lesioned, at that time there will be Babinski sign positive, cremasteric reflex loss, skill movement lost, paralysis will be there, but there will be no muscle atrophy. And if upper motor neuron lesion is there, as I already told, if you do any jerk, the jerk will be exaggerated, because upper motor neuron exaggerate the jerk. If only extrapyramidal tract is lesioned, then severe paralysis will no muscle atrophy, spasticity of the muscle, lower limb extended and upper limb flexed, exaggerated deep reflex, calf-line reaction, all will happen. Now, practically when there is cerebral internal capsule, lesion in the internal capsule, chani, pyramidal tract or extrapyramidal tract lesion hudaino. When there is a lesion in the cerebral stroke, thalamo-geniculate artery ruptures. At that time, both the pyramidal tract and the extrapyramidal tract is lesioned. That is why the mixed things are seen in the victim. Am I clear? Because in the stroke patients, you will see the Balinski sign is positive. Loss of abdominal reflex, loss of chemistry reflex, at the same time, muscle atrophy will be there. A little bit, but not too much. Spasticity of the muscles will be there, exaggerated deep reflex will be there. Exaggerated deep reflex is for extrapyramidal tract lesion, right? Because when there is stroke, cerebral stroke, thalamo-geniculate artery ruptures, at that time, both the pyramidal and the extrapyramidal tract are lesioned simultaneously. Portion, not all. Am I clear? So that is why the upper motor neuron lesion causes all those signs. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, if there is lower motor neuron lesion, I repeat, what is lower motor neuron lesion? What is lower motor neuron? All the motor neurons which is coming out from the spinal cord, alpha motor neuron coming out from the spinal cord, that means from the anterior spinal cord. They and the cranial nerves, they are all lower motor neurons. If the lesion in the lower motor neurons occurs, then there will be flaccid paralysis, atrophy of muscle, loss of reflex, fasciculation and contracture. Suppose you are in the class and due to your attitude, the teacher became very angry and left the class. What will happen? At that time, for few seconds there will be nothing and all of you will be stunned. There will be no activity. After that, what will happen? You will tell to others that it is your fault. It is due to that person, and that person will tell, no, it is due to your fault. So you will do, right? Just like that, if the upper motor neuron is cut, teacher is upper motor neuron and students are lower motor neuron, in thinking that way. Then if the upper motor neuron is cut, the teacher became very angry and left the class. Then first of all, there will be no reaction, nothing else in the muscle. After that, there will be exaggerated, then you will do some nuisance in the class. So exaggerated activities will be seen in you. Just like that, if the upper motor neuron is cut, then lower motor neurons are there, upper motor is cut, then there will be exaggerated jerks. Suppose you are not in the class, students are no student in the class, will there be anything? Teacher is there. Will there be class? No, there will be no class. Just like that, if the lower motor neuron is lesioned, there will be flaccid paralysis, no muscle activity, no contraction of the muscle will occur. So naturally, atrophy of the muscle will be there. So for reflex, the muscle contraction should be there, because reflex means the sensory path is all right, center is all right, motor path is all right, and effective organ is all right, effector organ. So effector organ is not there in case of lower motor neuron lesion. So there will be flaccid paralysis. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
You got why? How to remember? If there is lower motor paralysis, then lot of loss of all reflex, loss of all muscle activity, flaccid paralysis, atrophy of muscles. And if there is upper motor neuron lesion, there will be exaggerated jerk, there will be paralysis, but it is not flaccid, and atrophy of the muscles will not be too much. Right? May I proceed?
Unja, sir.
Hemiplegia. Hemi means half, plegia, paralysis. So one side paralysis is hemiplegia. Monoplegia. Mono means one. Only one limb is paralyzed. That is monoplegia. Diplegia. Two limbs, maybe two arms or two legs are paralyzed. They are called diplegia. Paraplegia means two legs are paralyzed. Quadriplegia means four limbs, two hands, two legs, all are paralyzed. And where there will be cut, and when there will be hemiplegia, when there will be quadriplegia, when there will be paraplegia, I have already shown in your figure, in the figure, isn't it? Should I show it again?
Unja, sir.
Uncha means what? Should I show?
Actually, देखाई दिनु न.
अब चाहिँ ठिक भयो. अब चाहिँ हेर यहाँ काट्यो भने internal capsule काट्यो. So opposite side hemiplegia. Opposite side hemiplegia, right? यहाँ काट्यो भने quadriplegia. किनभने दुईटा क्रस भइसक्यो. यता पनि sorry, I am talking in Nepali. Some become angry. So if the cut is here, so there will be internal capsule is cut. So there will be this nerve, this tract will be affected. So there will be hemiplegia. Then if after crossing both the tracts are lesioned after crossing, so there will be quadriplegia, hands and feet all will be paralyzed. So that is called tetraplegia or quadriplegia, right? Then if, and that is in the C level. There are C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. So you know that what is the, for biceps jerk, what is the center? C5, C6. Okay. So if there is in the C5, C6 area, whole this line and this line both are cut. Upper motor neuron of this side and the opposite side both are cut. Then there will be hand will not work, and this is the continuation to the legs. So leg will not work. So there will be tetra or quadriplegia, right? And if it is here, the lower portion of the spinal cord, because you know that for the quadriceps jerk, the root value is L234, isn't it? L234. So if they are in the lumbar section, if it is cut, then only the legs will be affected, right? So that is called paraplegia. Here quadriplegia, here quadriplegia, here paraplegia, right? Am I clear? Yes, no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So suppose this portion is cut. This is lower motor neuron of this side only. So lower motor neuron which is supplying the hand, say for example. So only one hand will be paralyzed. So that is monoplegia. Am I clear? One leg is paralyzed. So monoplegia. So are you getting what is hemiplegia? Quadriplegia, paraplegia, monoplegia, etc. You got now?
Yes, sir.
Should I go back to the slide where we were? Yes, here we were, isn't it? Is it clear now?
Clear, sir.
Should I proceed? Next slide.
Unsa, sir.
Then hypotonia, hypertonia, all those things are there, and let us come. Hypotonia means muscle tone is diminished or muscle tone is absent. That is called atonia. A means no tone. What is tone? I repeat, I have already told many times, again I will be repeating, the resistance of muscle against stretch is called tone. The resistance of muscle against stretch is called tone, right? Now muscle tone is diminished after hypotonia. It occurs when any part of the monosynaptic stretch reflex arc is interrupted in cerebellar disease due to decreased influence of gamma motor neuron from the cerebellum. Hypertonia, the tone is more, muscle tone increased, occurs when the lesions exist involve the supraspinal centers on the above the spinal cord, okay, descending tracts except the corticospinal tract, and at local spinal segment level produced by the excitation of the stretch reflex by sensory irritation, for example spasm of abdominal muscle secondary to peritonitis. So hypotonia, hypertonia, those terms you must know. Tremors, spasms, because they are all pathophysiology, right? So rhythmic involuntary movements as a result of opposing muscle groups. Some are flexor muscle, some are extensor muscle, and these rhythmic involuntary movement, if it is there, that is called tremor. So maybe as slow in the Parkinsonism, at rest there will be tremor, that is resting tremor in Parkinsonism, or fast as in toxic tremors for thyrotoxicosis, and with action in the intention tremor, cerebellar disease. So three types of tremor you may get. If there is cerebellum is cut, then there will be intention tremor. The person cannot pick up, there will be a glass of water. So either there will be overshoot of the hand and then undershoot of the hand. So the person, the hand will tremble, the hand will be there and it cannot grasp the thing. So that is called intention tremor. And at that time, if the cerebellar lesion is there, intention tremor will be there, and incoordination of muscle will be there, so the person cannot talk properly, and the knee jerk will be pendular. It will not be proper. It will be pendular. It will go in forward also, in backward also, right? And that is called the key things of cerebellar lesion. I am telling cerebellum. And if it is Parkinsonism, then the tremor will be there, that is resting tremor, right? But the person is trembling, the hands are tremored, the tremored hand is there, but the person can grasp on things. Spasms. Then sudden involuntary contraction of large muscle groups of muscles, for example spasm in paraplegia and lesions involving descending tract, but not corticospinal tract. Involuntary contraction of large group of muscles. And it happens when the extrapyramidal tracts are lesioned, not the pyramidal tract. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Somebody is talking. Somebody wants to tell something. Please tell. Should I proceed?
Unsa, sir.
Athetosis and chorea, continuous, slow, involuntary, dysrhythmic movement which impede the voluntary movement, disappear during sleep, occurs in lesion of the corpus stratum, and chorea, continuous, rapid, involuntary, jerky course, purposeless movement, and may occur during sleep also and occurs in the lesion of corpus stratum. So athetosis, chorea, those are the all pathophysiological things. Dystonia means distorted tone, frequent maintained contraction of the hypertonic muscles leading to bizarre postures and occurs in lesion of lentiform nucleus. Lentiform nucleus is a part of basal ganglia. Hemibalismus, rare form of involuntary movement confined to one side of the body, involves proximal muscles and limb involved in the mid of fly about the all directions. So the person हात खुट्टा यस्तो यो गर्छ के प्रोजेक्ट गर्छ मुक्का हाल्ने जस्तो गर्छ के without purpose he or she cannot check it due to lesion in the opposite subthalamic nucleus. So these are the terms. When you will read the basal ganglia also, then you will get it properly. And then comes the equilibrium system, posture and equilibrium. Should I continue?
Sir, यतिसम्मै गरौँ आज.